What up? Drew Schroeder here, and today with me, I have a very special guest. His name is Jason Redman, a New York Times best-selling author, Navy SEAL, TEDx speaker. I really liked his book. I'm in the middle of it right now. Overcome, Crushing Adversity with the Leadership Techniques of America's Toughest Warriors. So, Jason, how's it going, man?
It's good, Drew. How are you, man?
Pretty good. As people might be able to tell, if they're watching a video, I just moved back to Michigan. And when I was reading your book, it was talking about the X, right?
That's
And
right.
getting off the X. And although I read the book like in the middle of moving, I've already made my decisions. I really understood the concept of just getting off the X. And it was, I wish I would have known that before, but at the end of the day, I'm a numbers guy and I kind of figured things out. But going forward, it's a really easy concept of getting off the X as soon as possible, which is, from my understanding, any like a negative situation when you are in a real tough spot is just getting off, taking action with a react, right?
That's right.
I know the last one is taking action, which is one of my things that I'm pretty good at, making decisions. I'm a numbers guy, so found out a bunch of different numbers of the reason why COVID is going up, and living in Las Vegas, and not to mention, rent went up, COVID went up, and my nightclub numbers, since COVID is going up, since I was a promoter for the nightclub, going down. And I was like, well, as much as I don't want to live in Las Vegas, I might as well just move back to Michigan, which is why you have all this stuff I haven't finished unpacking. This was just the other day that I moved back here. So as much as it can be to make tough decisions, at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do, right? And we were actually supposed to have a meeting 2 weeks ago, but it just made it in our both of our best interests to just move the meeting to this week, which I'm very content. I'm very glad, because I was stressing out like 2 weeks ago because of the move and everything that was going on. July was a real tough month for me.
It's been a tough, there's a lot of people out there that have 2020, even into 2021, has been the year of what I call the life ambush. I survived a pretty devastating enemy ambush and spent my entire life trying to ambush the enemy. And that's really where the concept of the book Overcome came about. I realized one day that everybody gets ambushed in life. Everybody, I survived the bullets and bombs of battle, but people get hit by the bullets and bombs of life all the time. In 2020 and 2021, there's a lot of people that have been hit by the bullets and bombs of life, whether it was COVID, whether it was the crazy civil unrest, whether it was, economy, business, whatever it is, man, people have been hit by life ambushes, and life ambushes put you on that X. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that lay down on the X and feel sorry for themselves and take the victim mindset. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of that in this day and age. I almost feel like we're encouraging that mindset. And then there are others who either A, naturally have the ability to drive forward and get off the X, or B, they can learn how to do that. And the better you get at that, the better in your mind that you always have, that get off the X mindset, or what I call an overcome mindset, the faster you will move forward and find success. And that's the key. And that's what you and I were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah. It's a pretty easy concept to grasp, and since I'm about halfway done, I plan on finishing it in the next, I don't know, probably like 2 or 3 days or so. It's a pretty good book, man. And actually, when I was watching your TED Talk, I will say it is one of the better ones that I've watched. I've watched a lot of crummy TED Talks where I don't really walk away with anything, But within, was it 15, 20 minutes or so, I was really invested.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I wish the numbers, I really had, I poured my heart and soul into that TED Talk. Yeah. And really hope that I could get 1 million views. That was my goal. And it's had several tens of thousands. And frequently people write on it. They're like, why are there not more views for this video? And who knows what the answer to that is. But at the end of the day, man, you know the deal. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. At the end of the day, it's about grinding. And if you believe, if you're passionate about your mission, and that's really, especially with my new book, it's all about defining your mission in this life. That's my goal, is to help people get off that X and be successful, figure out their mission, figure out their life's mission objective, and then, man, track on it, man. Laser focus, understand that ambushes, hardship, adversity is going to happen. But if you know who you are and where you want to go, you understand your values, you understand your mission, you'll be successful. It just takes time.
As long as you keep at it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. How long were you a SEAL for?
21 years.
Wow. Wow. So my ex, she was in the Army
Okay.
for 6.5, 7 years or so. And then she got like medically discharged. I
Yeah.
forget what it was, because she has Chiari malformation. And we were, I was trying to get her to read your book too, but I mean, she's not really a reader. But this,
well, the audio book is great.
the audiobook.
Yeah.
Right.
People love it. And I actually got to read it, but I think where they like it so much is because obviously there are parts of this book that are rather emotional for me. I talk about everything in this book. I talk about major life ambushes I've been through. I talk about a business lawsuit I went through that almost cost me my company. I talk about, obviously, my battlefield injuries. I talk about a big one is a leadership failure I went through as a young SEAL officer. And life ambushes are painful. Like the major ones that you'll go through are painful. And that's the thing, man. People relate to that. So tell her to listen to the audiobook, because anyone out there, let me tell you something. I meet a lot of people who will say, well, I'm not a SEAL, so I don't know how I'd relate to that.
Right. I understand where that mindset's coming from. And that was also going to be my next question. Would you recommend this to veterans or just everyday
anyone?
People?
Here's the deal, man.
I was going to join the Army at one point too, but I realized I was too dumb to pass the SVAB test. So I decided to stay in my lane.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's funny that you say that and you jest, but yeah, today's military, it's amazing the level of even our enlisted personnel, the level of intelligence and that you have to have for different jobs and things like that. I'm sure you would have done fine, man. There's no doubt about it. If you are a Tony Robbins certified coach, you would have done okay.
I'm still in the process of getting the certification, but almost there.
Okay, nice. Yeah, man, keep grinding with that. Coaching, I think, is the future. I mean, if you've got some unique life experiences, man, it's a tough time. People are looking for help to make it through. And that's where, I think that's where my book and the things that I teach on make such a difference. And the big thing is, you asked, hey, is this book for veterans or is this book for anyone? This book's for everyone, man. You need to understand. I have been fortunate to have led a really amazing life. I have lived like 2 lifetimes. I mean, if I was to list all my successes, you would be like, oh my God, man, this guy I've met 3 presidents. I've been to the White House multiple times. I've summited Mount Rainier. I've done incredible things in my life. And those are shiny objects. Those are great. People are like, yay, that's so cool. I could never do that. But the reality, the real part of the story is the failures I've had. And I have failed epically. I almost got myself kicked out of the SEAL teams from my own arrogance and ego as a young leader. I got all shot up, devastatedly injured in a gunfight. You may not be able to relate to that, but you can relate to people have been injured or you've lost someone or you've had some sort of crisis. I mean, I have struggled with cash flow and payroll and nights where I'm like, how the hell am I going to pay my staff, where I cut my paychecks and wasn't getting paid in my own company just so I could pay my employees and keep the company moving forward. There was a period of time with my nonprofit that for several months, we were so low on funds. I was literally booking speaking events to pay my employees and not taking a single salary. So these are things that people can relate to. I mean, they're like, oh my God, those are human things. SEALs were not superheroes, man. Even though some of them will try and paint themselves that way, I know those guys.
Yeah.
And I talk about my failures. Maybe they're not willing to, but I know that those guys failed too. I know those guys. I'm like, you paint yourself as Hercules, but I remember when this happened or that happened. The reality is everybody's human, and some humans operate at a little bit of a higher level, which is fine. But guess what? You have the ability. Maybe you can't be at this level as a SEAL, but let me tell you something. You unequivocally have the ability to go from this level to this level. And the traits to get you from here to here are human traits. So what I speak on are leadership. What I speak on are teamwork. What I speak on are structure and discipline in your own life. What I speak on is an unrelenting overcome mindset. Those are human traits. And the tips and tools that I give you in my books, they will work for anyone. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what race, creed, color, demographic, business, whatever you have, mom, dad, gay, straight, it doesn't matter, man. The stuff will work because guess what? If you're human, it will work.
Right. And that was something I wanted to hit on too. I think we're on the same level with this because as a civilian, I know that, people that are, Navy SEAL and stuff, like, I know we're all human, obviously, but at the same time, there's that level of discipline that as a civilian, I never even got to see, of all the stuff that like the training and the discipline that you guys all go through. So, I mean, kind of speaking to the audience that may or may not be like closed-minded, I like to put myself in other people's shoes when I say like I totally get what you're saying, that when say like I know what you mean by putting yourself on the X, and you're trying to like make it broad appeal for everybody to understand, and how it could steer people away and them thinking, well, I mean, yeah, that's a military mindset, but what about me as a civilian and stuff? And I don't think that if someone's going to be thinking that, they're already limiting themselves.
They are.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the majority of people that think that way, one part of it is a comparison mentality. And man, that is a dangerous mentality, the comparison mentality, to say, well, that guy's a SEAL and I'm not. So there aren't things that he's going to say that I can relate to. That's not true. The other mindset, and this is probably more, and this is some people are going to be offended by me saying this, but it's a combination of fear, and it's a combination of confronting reality. And there are a lot of people out there who they don't want to educate themselves, or they don't want to go down a road where they have to confront who they really are. Like they're comfortable in their comfort zone. And if we go down a path where we got to look deeper into who we are and come to grips with, hey, man, I've got some weaknesses, or I could be doing this better, or hey, this Navy SEAL said I can step it up in this level, but in order to do that, I got to get outside my comfort zone to do that. And I don't really want to do that. That's the reality. Right. Frequently, I have had several people in coaching who at the beginning, and I have a hefty price tag for coaching with me. And often they'll say, well, can you guarantee, if I pay for this, can you guarantee it? And I'm like, well, no, I can't guarantee it because it comes down to you. I can give you all the tools to be successful, but if you don't implement them, then no, it's not going to work. There's no guarantee because you are the ability to guarantee success.
Yeah, I wanted to try and find this graph that is in your book, Overcome, and I really liked.
So it's there's only a few in there. So it'd be the pyramid of change.
Yes, that one.
Yes.
Yeah. So where like people, they'll that they're not even aware that they need to change. The people.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I can explain it if you'd like.
Yeah, of course. Let's do that.
So the pyramid of change was a concept. Yeah, the pyramid of change was a concept I came up with that, and here's one of the things. I'll come right back to the pyramid of change. Nothing, there's a lot of high level authors that are academics, and good on them, man. But I think for many of them, they haven't lived the things that they talk about. They've studied other people, and they've studied human behavior, and they've studied a lot of graphs and charts. And then they speak on these things as subject matter experts when they haven't actually experienced it themselves. Yes, there is nothing in any one of everything in my books are things that I developed for me. There were things that I figured out like, hey man, you're failing at this, or hey man, you're not doing a good job at this, or hey man, why did you struggle with this? Or hey, why are you doing this well? All of these things were concepts that I developed based off my own life. So, and there may be others out there that have different terms or terminology, but I'll tell you what, these things work, man. I'm nobody super special. About the only defining trait I have is I'm super stubborn and I'm super resilient. You know, those are my defining traits. And that's what's enabled me to find success. Everything else I've figured.
I think you and I both share those traits because I'm very stubborn and I try and I always say I always get my way because I don't stop until I do.
And that's a phenomenal quality in an entrepreneur and as a human being. I tell people, I call that the part of the overcome mindset, is that tenacity. And so how did the pyramid of change come about? The pyramid of change was just a concept that there were several things that I was recognizing that people need, most of the time in life, we need pain or discomfort before we'll change.
Yes. Need the cart to what is it? You need the cart to drive the carrot. You need the stick for the carrot.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people need like that stick, and most people often, they even though we know that there may be a storm or problem in the future, if it's not painful yet, most of the time we won't change. Most people don't have the structure and discipline, or most people just, hey, life is good enough at this time. Yeah. And I began to realize, I ran my nonprofit, Wounded Warrior Combat, that we phased into combat, grew into Combat Wounded Coalition. We phased it down in 2018. I worked with a lot of different people. We raised almost $3 million over the life of the organization. So I have led people in business. I have led people in the military. And I began to realize there's about 4 classes of people. At the very bottom level, you have the individuals who lack any initiative and have zero drive. And there are a lot of people out there like this. I do feel we're creating a culture where I think there's more than we've had in the past. I think there's a lot of people who are willing to just sit there and do nothing. I actually, that's the bottom level. And I call it, zero awareness and zero effort. They're just perfectly content to really not do anything. And I think some people have a natural level of work ethic, like they want to be working, they want to be productive. Most humans want to be productive in some level, whether it's working for someone else or working for themselves. And at that base level of the pyramid of change, there's, it's pretty hard to motivate those people at the bottom level to change, but they're a very small minority. I'd say they're about 5%. The next level above that is the comfort zone. Yeah, this is about 80%
where dreams die.
Yes, this is the zone where most people live. Probably.
Yeah, I like to think of people like in this zone probably be living in the. They use comfort words where it's not that bad.
Exactly, man. I'm getting ready to do every Monday. I do a Monday.
I'm only a few pounds extra. I'm only a few pounds overweight.
I'm good enough. I'm good enough. Good enough is such a dangerous phrase.
Yeah.
And people are, people like to be comfortable.
Like people say, when it comes to weight again, it'd be, people will say, let's see, it's not that bad. I'm only a few pounds overweight, or it's like, no, or here's another one. I like curves or something like that, or they'll blame someone else and say, people will say, well, they need to fit my role in society when we're all supposed to be moving together.
Yes. And that's actually, I think, a dangerous thing that's occurring in society today, that, there's this, we're discriminating against obese people by saying that obesity is unhealthy. I mean, that's such an absurd thing, because there are literally universities and people with MDs at the end of their name that have studied the impact of obesity on the human body. And we know for a fact that carrying excess weight is really bad for you. And across all boards, it's bad on your joints, bad on your body. Higher levels of diabetes, higher levels of cardiovascular disease, all these things. And yet we have, once again, I say we're creating a victim society these days. Everybody's a victim. You are a victim based on your race, creed, color, how much you weigh, your sexual orientation. You should be a victim, and it's up to everybody else to praise you for your victimhood, which is
your worldview,
which is absurd, and it's dangerous, because I am a huge fan of self-leadership. When I talk about leadership, it's not about strategic, high level, how we lead hundreds of people. It's about how you lead yourself, because how you lead yourself directly impacts everybody around you. And how you lead yourself is how you achieve better fitness, better goals in your professional life, better communication in your relationships. It all starts and stops with you. And individuals who live in the comfort zone typically are unwilling to effectively lead themselves. And I'm not saying that you're not living at a high level. There's a lot of people that can live at a pretty high level in their comfort zone. And I'm not saying that you have to be uncomfortable all the time. And we'll talk about this continuing up the pyramid of change. The next level above the comfort zone is a zone of discomfort. And I'm actually going to jump above that to the top level for a minute, because it's important, because there are a lot of type A entrepreneurs. Drew, I'm willing to bet you're one of them. I'm one of them. And I know a lot of type A entrepreneurs and business leaders and owners who live in this level at the top. And the top of the pyramid is the burnout zone.
Yeah.
And
I get pretty burnt out.
A lot of us do. And that's because as entrepreneurs, we feel like we can do everything. And we get shiny object syndrome, and we get all these things. And we literally are trying to do everything.
Right.
And this is where it gets dangerous, because as an entrepreneur, if you can't learn how to delegate and create structure and discipline and how to scale yourself within your own company, ultimately you will end up in this triangle at the top, which is the burnout zone. This is where mistakes occur. This is where you just burn out because you can't function at this level. I lived in this zone for a long time when I was running my nonprofit. I made a lot of mistakes. I was new. I started my nonprofit while I was still in the military. I retired and continued to run it. And I didn't think big enough. I didn't think how to scale myself. And then I started my speaking company. I was trying to do all these things, and I was living in this zone. And I described this zone like a clown in a circus. You know, the clown that's out there and he's spinning the plates?
Yeah.
And he keeps adding another stick in a plate and he's spinning them. And before you know it, he's got like 20 plates going. But at some point, he adds one that's just too many.
Too much. And then more fall.
And exactly, when one finally falls and he tries to catch it, all are going to fall. And this is what happens to individuals who live in that zone. So where do you want to live? The zone of discomfort is above the comfort zone. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. This is where you're having to embrace change. This is where we're having to do things that are beyond our comfort zone. This is where good enough no longer applies. We're pushing for great, not perfect, because if you're striving for perfect, you're going to end up in the burnout zone, because there is no perfect. All there is really, really great, and people striving for perfection that are going to burn out because it doesn't exist. So it's going from good to great, and it's in that great zone that we're starting to live in the zone of discomfort. But I'll tell you how peak performers and elite performers live.
Both, the top two. At least that's where I like to hang out, because for me personally, I like to, for one, I have ADHD. So I like to have like 3 or 4 different things going on all at once. And then if a plate drops, it's all right. I still got 3 more, you know? And like, obviously, I mean, I don't want to keep dropping plates, but the more that I can, because I get bored pretty quick. And so if I got 4 projects going on and one of them just drops and falls, I know that I let it because I'm focusing on the other 3. So obviously I might not find that 4th one, that one that fell, so entertaining. And I just want to, I'm all about happiness. So if I let one plate drop, it's like, you know, Does that make sense?
It does, but the question may be, should you have been spinning that first plate in the first place? You know?
I like to try new things out, so may or may not have wanted to drop it.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. We all got to get out there, and I'm a big fan of failing anyways, because that nothing builds an overcome mindset faster than failing and dealing with the discomfort that comes with it. We learn, you gain experience. But no, it's not the top two zones. It's not the zone of discomfort and the burnout zone. You can't live in those zones all the time.
Okay.
You will burn out. If you try and live in the zone of discomfort, you will always end up in that burnout zone.
Okay.
Where you want to live is in the comfort zone and the zone of discomfort. And here's how it occurs.
Okay.
We identify a goal. Let's just hypothetically say, Drew, you run a 10-person company for promotions in Las Vegas, and you're crushing it, man. You are the man. When a promoter, what's that?
True story so far.
Hey,
let's go.
You love it? All right. So when a promoter in Las Vegas is like, we got this new thing, we got this event we're having, who do we call? We call Drew Schroeder. And you are growing and you've built your company, you've scaled yourself, you've gotten to the point, and in the beginning, you were up in the zone of discomfort, but as you build and as you build processes and structure and discipline and a culture within your company, pretty soon you move down into the zone of comfort because all this is working. It starts to get on autopilot. And now it's like, okay, we need to raise the bar again. You know what? Las Vegas isn't enough. I want LA, baby. I want an arm in LA. And suddenly we're pushing back up into the zone of discomfort because we don't know the players in LA. I mean, hypothetically, you may, but we don't know the players in LA. We don't have the staff in LA. We don't have the infrastructure in LA yet. So now we have to recreate that. And it's uncomfortable again. It's hard. The truly elite people out there, whether it's in business, whether it's in special operations, whether it's in fitness, I don't care what it is, Olympic athletes, it is an infinite loop that they go from the comfort zone and they say, well, I've got to ramp up. I'm going to this level. They move up into that zone of discomfort. And at some point they achieve it and they do it well enough that suddenly that new bar becomes their zone of comfort.
Right.
And the people who are truly elite performers at all levels are constantly raising that bar. They go from their comfort zone to the zone of discomfort, comfort zone, zone of discomfort. And this is how you do it without burning out. Because if you just live in the zone of discomfort, you're going to burn out. The human body and the mind need those times that we rest and recover and have it easy for a little while. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't start to drift down deeper and deeper into the zone of comfort, where then, you start making the excuses we talked about earlier. Man, my lifestyle is good enough. I make enough money, depending on where you're at. I mean, if you're making billions of dollars, you may be able to legitimately say that, but most of us are not there. So
I'm pretty sure there's some billionaires out there that still want that next level. We just had 2 billionaires go to space.
It becomes and here's the reason why, because people who live their lives at this level, they will never peak because they follow that pattern, this infinite loop from the zone of comfort to the zone of discomfort. They may only be in their comfort zone for a couple of weeks on vacation, having a good time. And they're like, time to raise the bar, time for a new goal.
Kind of reminds me of that movie Limitless, where Bradley Cooper was getting buzzed off of those pills,
those special pills.
Always wanted the next level.
Yeah.
More and more extreme.
Yep.
Yeah. I totally.
And you don't need a pill to, man. Everybody has it with you. It's just within you. I mean, I tell people all the time, the only thing stopping you from achieving greatness in life is you.
I believe
that's why I hate this victim mentality that's pervading our nation. Lay down and be a victim. Lay down.
Mindset.
What's that?
80% of success is about mindset, and the 2%.
Absolutely, and grinding forward and enduring the discomfort that comes with the journey. Always going to be life ambush. There's just always going to be adversity. There's always going to be problems. And most people, especially in this day and age, are no longer, they want the success right now. Hey, I want what that guy has, but I want it right now. I don't want to endure the journey. And not only do they not want to endure the journey, we're starting to create a mindset of it's somebody else's fault even though I haven't done the work, it's somebody else's fault that I'm not at the level Drew's at.
Right.
And they'll find something to blame, which I tell people the number one thing that'll keep you stuck on the X is that right there, the blame game.
The blame game. Yes.
Yep.
I see that there is a culture shift to the blame game on everything when it comes to politics or business or, especially stuff like, I don't know, like the Me Too movement. It's just like everything is just like blaming who can we blame next? It seems like. So when it comes to the getting on or off the X, right? Is this would you say that you're pretty much always standing on an X and it's always moving forward?
No, I would say so. When I talk
Or
about
do you
the
mean like
X,
when
I define the
there's
X
like
as
a
a
real
life
risk?
ambush.
Okay.
And there's three levels of life ambushes. So the first level is a micro ambush. And people will encounter micro ambushes depending on your personality. You can encounter them every single day because micro ambushes are the ambushes of the mind.
Mhm.
This is that little voice. I call mine my demon. And that dude, he is vicious, man. He is a spawn of hell. And he lives inside my mind. And he's always telling me, you're not good enough. You're not big enough. You're not strong enough. You're a terrible businessman. You're a terrible father. You're a terrible friend. You're a terrible this. You're a terrible that, whatever it is. And the problem is so many people listen to that inner voice and it stops them from driving forward. They become afraid and they become a slave to that little voice inside their head. And they become the victim because of that voice. That's a micro ambush. People will sit on the X because of that ambush, because of that voice. If you can break free of that, and I tell people that little voice never goes away, never goes away. You won't beat it. You won't kill it, but you learn how to drive forward despite it. And as a matter of fact, sometimes just to spite it. I love it, man. Sometimes that little voice will creep up and I'm like, screw you, buddy. Watch this. Right. So that's a micro ambush. The next level is a mini ambush. And I call this a schedule disruption. These are the things that come along in your life that disrupt our plans in a pretty major way. And oftentimes it can be something that disrupts you for weeks. It could be months, but it's not big enough to create massive pain. We'll talk about the major life ambushes in a minute. That's the highest level, but it's I usually give the example of like a single car family that the car breaks down. That's going to create a pretty major schedule disruption impact on that family because now the one mode of transportation they had, they do not have. So now they're having to get creative. They're having to bum rides from other people. They're having to use public transportation. Maybe they're riding a bike, whatever it has majorly disrupted their schedule. But the thing is with a mini ambush or a schedule disruption, 9 out of 10 times, if we fast forward 5 years and I said, hey, Drew, remember that time when, you and your little family and your single car broke down and I had to give you a ride for like a month, you remember that? And you were so upset about all that. And you'd be like, yeah, I kind of remember that. Why? Because you've moved on. It wasn't such an impact, but so many people will allow that mini ambush to pull them onto the X and just negatively impact everything about their lives. They will just stop moving forward because of this schedule disruption.
Right.
The last one, the top one, are the majors. I define a major life ambush as anything that creates massive physical, scars, mental, emotional, or deep financial scars. So it's anything at the lowest level. I define a major life ambush as maybe an unexpected ending of a relationship. It could be a business crisis. It could be a lawsuit. It could be bankruptcy. It could be a divorce. They start to move up in severity based on like life-threatening injury or illness to you or someone you love. It could be sexual trauma to you or someone you love. It could be the unexpected loss of a loved one. And then at some of the highest levels I've seen are the unexpected loss of a child. These are major life ambushes. And the thing about major life ambushes, you never fully recover from them. you will always carry the scars. And that's why I talked about, when I read about overcoming, I talk about these ambushes, they're painful. I mean, but they also have tremendous power, because individuals who can harness the power of a life ambush and turn it into positive energy to move forward, these are the individuals who do incredible things. Um, and everybody encounters major life ambushes. You know, if you're listening to this right now and you're really young, maybe you haven't been through one yet. I have been through four I'm 46 right now, and I've lived a pretty busy life. So I'm probably ahead.
You don't look 46 at all. Wow, you look young, dude.
A lot of good plastic surgery, man. A lot of good. Yeah. Thank you, American taxpayers, for allowing me to get put back together well.
Right.
But everybody, you know, the average person is going to go through 5. Some people will have more. Few don't have less than that, but you'll always remember them. And when they happen, they're devastating, man. And sometimes we see them coming, and sometimes they hit us like a bomb going off in the night. We never see it coming. But at the end of the day, the process is the same. And then we talked about the REACT methodology, and, you know, I could go through that, but the process to get off the X is the same. And if you can build a mindset of readiness, I have a question I love to ask people. And the question is, will you be ready? And so many people are like, well, for what? And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You just don't know.
know. But if you have a mindset of overcoming, it doesn't matter what comes along. If you have a mindset that I'm going to get off the X, whatever the X is, I'm constantly going to look at how I drive forward and move past this, and understand that time is relative. So if you have a major life ambush, if you lose a child, one of the biggest ambushes I've seen, that timeline to get off the X is going to take much longer. It's going to take months, if not maybe a year or longer, to deal with that. There's a process of grieving, and there's a process of dealing with that. But if you go into it with a mindset of, I have to get off the X, and how do I turn this life ambush? So often when a major life ambush occurs, and this is what I talk about in my TED Talk, it's a the end moment. It's a moment where something in your life has come to a devastating end, and our path has suddenly been rewritten. And there are the individuals who will lay down and wither and die on the X, maybe not physically, but mentally and emotionally. And they just stop living. I've seen it happen so many times. I know you have, and those of you that are listening know people that have had a major life ambush, a relationship failure, a business failure. And it becomes an excuse for every bad behavior out there. They become alcoholics. They become drug addicts, sex addicts. It's an excuse to no longer get up and function. They drift down into that lowest level of the pyramid of change. No effort, nothing occurs. The highest level are the people that launch from it. They turn the end moment into a new beginning. I did this. I've met others individuals that, like a family that lost a child to cancer, started their own nonprofit to help other families with children with cancer. It became a new beginning for them. And I think if people can look at it that way, if you have a mindset of overcoming, you have a mindset of getting off the X, man, that's where people are successful. You know, that's a victor mindset, not a victim mindset.
I like that last part. It's not a victim mindset. It's a victor mindset.
Be a victor, not a victim.
Right. Like, because I understand that the whole mindset has a lot to do with it. I'm actually on chapter 7.
You're in the Pentagon of Peak Performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who I'm looking at right now.
Yes. So this is a great chapter. This is about balance as a leader.
Yeah.
And understand
this. I want to talk about your new book.
Okay. The Pointman Planner.
A Pointman Planner. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. The Pointman Planner incorporates this into it. The Pentagon of Peak Performance, as a leader, we've got to have balance. If you don't want to end up in that zone of the burnout zone at the top of the pyramid of change, you got to be balanced as a leader. But understand this, balance is not perfect. The Pentagon is 5 key areas, but it doesn't mean 20% in each area. What it means is that as a leader, you're keenly aware that I need to put some time and effort into these 5 areas. Otherwise, I'm going to fall out of balance. And I give the description in the book like a table. A one-legged table can't stand. A two-legged table, that can't stand either. 3 legs can stand, but it's pretty easy to knock that over. 4-legged table is efficient, and that's why most tables are 4 legs, but it's not too hard to flip a 4-legged table over. Like, you know, somebody with some force, a little bit of strength, a big storm, they can flip it over. A 5-legged table with really strong legs and a heavy top, pretty tough to flip that over.
Right.
And that's what we want to be. We want to be balanced in those areas. And the 5 key areas are physical leadership. We got to take care of this body we live in, good nutrition, good sleep, good fitness. It is the foundational level. And I get into the reasons in the book why this is important. Number 2 is mental leadership. We're constantly consuming information. We're constantly educating ourselves. We're constantly seeking out mentors who are smarter than us, who have been there before us, who can help us time collapse problems. We're constantly challenging our beliefs. You know, if we think something so, or if we think, hey man, I've learned all I need to learn, you're at a failure point right there. We should always be learning, man. Number 3 is emotional leadership. How do we manage our emotions? How do we choose positivity over negativity, especially in this day and age? Right. Number 4 is social leadership. How do we build the rings of influence, the teams of people around our lives? And number 5, the highest level is spiritual leadership. How do we get outside of ourselves? For some people, it's faith. Faith plays a part for me, but it doesn't have to be for everybody. It just means that I get outside of myself and give back in ways that lets me know that my problems pale in comparison to other people that are out there. There's so many, you know, I meet people who are like, you know, they have some sort of major ambush and they're like, you know, oh, you don't understand, or you could never understand. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, there's only 4 billion people or 7 billion people, I think, on this planet. You're right. There's nobody out there that can relate to you. Dude, get off your butt, man. Get off the X. Yes, what you're going through is hard, but man, there's so many other people out there that have been through 100,000 times worse than you, most likely. And if you can figure that out, you know, that gives you perspective. That spiritual leadership, man, it makes a difference. And if you can put a little bit of time and effort each week into those areas, you'll be balanced. And balance enables us to be able to weather the storms when the storms come, when those life ambushes come.
Of course. Yeah. We've talked about so much too. That's great. Like, and you said that this one just went New York Times bestseller, this newest one?
No, it's Amazon bestseller. We hit number 1 in 3 categories on Amazon. Yep. Yeah, the Pointman Planner. So the Pointman Planner I wrote in 2020 and released it, just officially released it about a month ago. And I suffered my 4th life ambush the end of 2020. I came down, you know, super healthy, really in good shape, and came down with some really weird symptoms and suddenly started losing all this. I felt terrible all the time. I couldn't think straight. My balance was affected and I just felt horrible. And the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They thought I had cancer for a while. My blood was all messed up. And it turned out I had a parasite, which caused a pretty major blood disorder that attacked my central nervous system.
Yeah.
So while I was going through that and living the principles I talk about, I remember at one point thinking about the military and the SEAL teams. And one of the people we have in the SEAL teams, and other military units have them also, but SEALs have what's called a point man. And a point man is an individual that leads us where we need to go. And a really good point man is irreplaceable. Like when you're on a mission, like you want your point man, like they're just that good. And I remember thinking one day, I was like, man, it would be so nice if I was back in the SEAL teams and I had a point man to lead me out of this, you know, to help me get out of this situation. And I was like, that's an interesting idea. Why? What made point man so effective? And I realized that there were 4 things that made a SEAL point man so effective. And what I realized is these are also the 4 things that will make anyone incredibly successful. The 4, and it came down to 4 point man principles. And the 4 point man principles are this. Number 1, relentless belief in your mission. Most people in this life have never defined their mission. You've never figured out. Most people in this life, they say, well, this is my goal, but they're kind of all over the place. And oftentimes when I coach people, one of the first things I ask them are, well, hey man, tell me what your values are. And they'll quickly rattle off some stereotypical values, like family, country, uh, money, whatever. They'll just rattle stuff off. But they've never truly gotten down into the weeds on what their personality is and what really aligns. They picked out cliche values from society around us. And you really got to do some soul searching. Maybe one of your values is fame. And man, you get off by having a level of notoriety,
the center of attention.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's not.
And there's nothing wrong with also wanting to be ridiculously wealthy. That is a value. But until you truly come to grips with the values that drive you, you're kind of living a lie. And you'll tell people country, family, whatever. I meet so many entrepreneurs that tell me family is a big value of theirs, yet they never do anything with their family. They live in the office from 5 a.m. till 10 at night. They go to work, their kids are asleep. They come home, their kids are asleep. They have no relationship with their family, yet they sit there to my face and tell me family is one of my values. And I'm like, wow, dude, let me dodge that nose growing out of your face, Pinocchio, because guess what? You're lying to yourself. So if we can figure out our values and then define our mission around that, and a mission statement is nothing more than I, Drew Schroeder, am this, related to business, related to friendship, related to my family, related to this. That is a powerful mission statement that now can guide you.
Being as clear and as honest with yourself as possible, and then moving towards that, because obviously people just, they kid themselves, they lie to themselves. It kind of goes back to, using comfort words. Like, the person might be all about their family, but at the same time, they're like, I spend time with my kids, like, but once a month, or going on a family vacation every once in a great while, probably won't cut it. So they're not living up to their own values.
Well, not if it's one of their values. I mean, if it's one of your values, there should be some major effort put into it. And it should be a consideration for everything else you do, which now gets transcribed into your mission statement. There are 3 levels of the pressure test I give for a mission statement. Number one, do you believe it? And this is an important thing. I meet a lot of people, once again, it's like, oh yeah, family is my value. Well, not really. You sure aren't. That's not what the case is. If you write a mission statement, you should be able to read it and be like, I unequivocally believe this. I mean, this like drives me, man. I'm like fired up to achieve this. This is who I'm going to be. This is who, it is the greatest coming together of yourself in this life with this mission statement. So relentless belief in that. Number 2, pressure test is, do others believe it? Is it believable? If Drew, if you were to tell me, hey, Jay, this is my mission statement, and you and I had gotten to know each other a little more over time, and I'd be like, you know what, Drew? Absolutely, man. Like, I believe that about you. Like, everything in your life is aligned to achieve this mission. And then number 3, do you live it? I mean, a lot of people that have a mission statement or write that this is their mission, but they don't live it. It's merely words on a piece of paper, kind of like goes back to them saying family, but they're not executing that. So
even if that's like planned out, like as in like, this is what I want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is what I aspire to be. And then you're following those principles day in and day out to achieve that. And the Pointman Planner teaches you how to do that. Number 2 is a destination and a course. Destination are long-term goals. Over a year, 5, 10 years, but they are long-term goals, and they're a very clearly defined destination. I want to have, $20 million in net worth in 10 years, hypothetically. That is a destination. Your course are what I like to call the path to get there, the waypoints. And there's going to be micro goals along the way. I encourage people to set quarterly goals to get to your destination. And if you want to have $20 million in assets in 10 years, what are the things that you need to do to get there? Well, obviously, it ain't going to happen. Yeah. So that's number 2, clearly defined destination and course. Number three, risk assessments and situational awareness. I meet a lot of people who they come up with a plan and they never really have looked at, well, what are the risks? What are the problems? And then they're executing that plan and they don't have situational awareness of the issues and problems that are going on all around them.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just kind of blind to that. So I develop tools to be able to incorporate into your life, to be able to utilize. I have risk assessment tools and I have situational awareness, or something I call indicators. Indicators are things that let us know the potential for an ambush is growing. And so what's a great example of an indicator? I see this one all the time. You go to the doctor, or you have friends that go to the doctor, and the doctor says, Drew, hey man, I got bad news, but dude, your cholesterol's off the chart, man. You're overweight, you're not taking care of yourself. And dude, if you don't make some changes, you're gonna have a heart attack in the next 5 years. And you're like, damn, doc, you're so right. And then you leave and you don't make any changes. You had an indicator that there's an ambush on the horizon. And
Right.
so many people choose to ignore it, deny it, procrastinate, all these different things. And then 5 years from now or 4 years from now, you have a heart attack and you're like, oh my God, I never saw this coming. And we're like,
Right.
dude,
You've
the
had all the
indicators were
signs.
there.
Right.
People do it in business. People do it
Yeah.
in their personal relationships. We ignore the indicators. Good point men, good leaders of their own life, they heed the indicators.
Coming. Yes.
Yeah, they look at them and they say, okay, man, hey man, I've got 2 or 3 indicators towards this problem. I've got to take action on it before it becomes a major ambush. And then the last one, an overcome mindset to get off the X. We can't prevent every ambush that comes. We can do our best to try and go around it. We can do our best to try and lessen the impact, but sometimes, man, no matter what we do, we see it coming. Could be a financial crisis. I personally think sometime in the near future, we're going to witness the greatest financial crisis in the history of America.
That's really interesting, and it leads me into saying that the last person I interviewed was a crisis management expert, and he said that we're going to be going into a depression sooner or later. He just doesn't know when. It could be this year, next year, doesn't matter, but it is happening soon. We're overdue.
I agree. And I think it will be the most severe we've ever seen in American history.
That interview is a couple of months old when they first found out, when India was getting really bad with COVID. And he said the wording that they were saying on the news, that the people that are fully vaccinated like me could still, it could or could not at the time still catch COVID. And he was talking about how housing was going to go up, and he was right about everything. So
CDC just released a report that there was a big super spreader event up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole town got the Delta variant of COVID. And you can look this up. Go look at this report. Today's August 3rd. It was just a few days ago. Yeah, and basically they said that,
Friday,
what's that?
This interview is coming out on Friday, by the way.
Okay, so perfect. Yeah. But they said that individuals who were vaccinated and individuals who were not vaccinated had the exact same level, or roughly the exact same levels of COVID.
Yeah.
So,
and then, but the people that actually, I think I might have caught it, but it was so subtle where, I was working in the biggest nightclubs in the world, Hakkasan and Omnia in Las Vegas, right? So I was at the front wristbanding literally hundreds of people a night to go into the club. And when I started seeing the numbers, the indicators go from 100 people a day in Clark County, which is the county of Las Vegas, to 200 to 400 to 800. And I was like, yeah, this job is probably not going to be it for a while, and then not to mention every single one of my non-vaccinated coworkers caught COVID. And also as far as I know, 2 fully vaccinated coworkers caught COVID. I might have had it. I couldn't test myself because there were so many people that wanted to get tested that it was said the next test available was in like 5 days. And I'm like, by then I'll be on my way to Michigan, So I might have had it, but it was so subtle because I just had congested nose, runny nose, a little bit of a cough, but I mean, it could have been just from shaking hands and wristbanding people from like a different kind of cold rather than the Delta that's going on right now.
Yeah. Who knows?
But yeah, that was no joke. I did notice that the people that were not vaccinated, that they were out longer, and then they were more sick than the people that were. But I mean, like that's just like such a small sample size. But
Yeah, because the
according to
CDC with the
science,
Massachusetts people. So either way, the bottom line is there's crises out there, and it may not be COVID. It may be something else. The bottom line is,
yeah,
and in the new book, The Pointman Planner, I teach you how to be a leader of yourself, and that is a point man. So you need to be a point man for your own life. So that
yeah,
day when I got sick last year, and I was like, man, I wish I had my own point man. It doesn't happen in the real world. In the real world, you have to be the point man. I tell people in that book, you have to be the light in the darkness. When the ambushes and the storms come, we're living in a day and age where people are like, I wish someone would come save me. That's the victim mindset. Well, guess what, man? You got to be that light.
yeah.
And if you do that, you will
Yeah.
be successful. It may not always be the success that you think is going to happen. The way it unfolds may be different, but it will always be better than if you just lay there waiting for someone to come save you, because 95% of the time it'll never happen.
I totally get that because like 2 weeks ago when I was trying to think, should I just stay in Las Vegas and just grind it out, or do I move, which is a huge life change. I'd never wanted to move out of Las Vegas, And then I was just talking to my friends to get their perspective on things, And then every single one of them was like, well, it's your decision. And I'm like, it is, and I will make that decision. But it's just like, I want to know other people's point of views to know if I could get someone else's point of view from outside looking in. So, but at the end of the day, yeah, I definitely made the decision, and I feel like I made the right decision because, I mean, if you're packing the clubs 4,000 people deep, and there's a deadly virus going around, it's what's most likely going to happen, if COVID numbers are doubling every day, and now that I'm in Michigan, they were telling me that everyone in Las Vegas, vaccinated or not, has to wear masks, which means it'd be even harder to get people into the nightclubs, which was my main job. And also to sell the, $20,000 table service and stuff like that there too. But yeah, I totally get that that you have to make the decisions for yourself. No one else can, although I think you can get like another person's point of view, but at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Build your team, build your
Yeah.
people. I mean, that's part of mental leadership. It's not you're making every decision on your own. Do your research, challenge your beliefs. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to take action, and you are the leader. You are the point man of your own life.
Mhm.
So, at some point you've got to make that decision and move.
Mm-hmm. Jason, how long have we been going at this? Record time?
I'm not seeing the
because I see it's been
not seeing the record.
About an hour or so.
Yeah, so I am definitely gonna have to run here in a minute. So if we want to wrap things up,
of course. Let's see. There was another question that I want to talk. Oh yeah. So when it comes to the lastly, when it comes to the X, right? Is that your own system, or is that something they teach you in the military?
It's a military concept. I mean, especially a special operations concept. So it was, when you get attacked, sniper attack, bomb attack, ambush, you have to get off the X as quickly as possible. I mean, the X is designed in an ambush. We're trying to contain fighters into a specific location and rain down as much firepower as possible to overwhelm them, incapacitate them, destroy their will to fight. Life ambushes work the same way, man. And the longer you sit there, the more you will feel overwhelmed. As a matter of fact, I tell people the X is like quicksand. The longer you sit there, the more you sink down, and the harder it is to get the momentum going. It's fastest developed to have that momentum from the beginning. Once again, with the caveat that depending on the level of the life ambush, Oftentimes there's a primary ambush, and then there's kind of the secondary, which are the effects of the ambush. So, you know, if you lose a child, the secondary effects are obviously that devastating outcome from losing a child. And that timeline may be longer, but you still have to have a mindset of getting off the X, lest you sit there and wither and just get stuck for the rest of your life. And that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, I understand. Jason, thank you so much for this interview. All of the links to your books and to your TED Talk are going to be linked down below. Also, I'll be picking up your newest book as soon as I can. And if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because I got more interviews like this coming up too. And Jason, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, Drew, thanks, man. Yeah, everybody check me out at jasonredman.com. If you're looking for more information, if you're looking for handouts, if you want to know handouts, meaning we have more deeper information that we have in marketing materials about getting off the X, the React methodology, my Learn to Lead methodology, all these things that can help you become a better leader. Yeah, check me out on the socials. I try to be pretty active on the socials. Every Monday, I put out my Monday muster, my motivational, about 10, 12 minutes of great topics on how you can be a leader and point man of your own life. Obviously, you can get my books on my website, or you can get some awesome Overcome merchandise. People love the No Bad Days line we have, which is, you know, about the idea that I got all shot up. So when I have a hard day, I never say I had a bad day. I think it's so cliche. I think people use it when, you know, I define the day I got shot up by an enemy machine gun as a bad day. Everything else, man, it's a good day. It's up to you to make it a great day. So no bad days. And it's a very cool graphic of my skull for the No Bad Days line. So anyways, Drew, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.